Okay, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the Align podcast where strategy meets innovation, and we are here with Ross Friedman. Ross, can you tell us a little bit about you and the company you work for in your career?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Amy.
Sure.
It's great to be here. So the name of the company is Service Advantage. Uh, we got started in 2023. There's kind of a history before that, but I had worked with Brian Mitchell, who's really sort of the face and the brains behind this whole thing.
Nice.
He had been working with Best Roofing, a large roofing contractor in South Florida. And
Okay.
through that time, he basically had built out a very large and profitable service organization.
Okay.
And so um, Brian was working with software to help him kind of run that program that he was building. And I was on the software side, basically working with him to build the software that was dedicated to the program that he was building at Best Roofing.
Okay.
So through those interactions, we became, you know, uh, really close, and I had a very good understanding of what he was trying to do. And when he had left Best Roofing, essentially he sort of took that program and put it on paper, and we had stayed in contact. And then we just started working together and turning it into a coaching program.
Okay, wonderful. So you guys provide coaching specifically to roofing, to the roofing industry then?
Exactly, correct.
Is it commercial or just residential or both?
We focus on commercial.
Okay. And how exactly do you help your clients? Like, what is, and, you know, this podcast is kind of designed to raise awareness and just talk about the industry. So, kind of tell us what you do as far as how you actually go in and help your commercial roofers.
Yeah, so we have essentially a well, it's a program, coaching program, and a community. And
Okay.
when contractors join, they get access to many documents and estimating tools and various other tools that's going to help them. And we, as coaches, we spend a year or so with them, building and implementing the actual program. So the program is made up of 26 stages, and we meet with them weekly as a group and individually. And so we will work with them to build what essentially Brian has built back when he was at Best Roofing.
Okay. So, y'all kind of dive into the company and see how to. Do you start off with companies who have been around a while or not been around a while? How do you figure out which customers meet what you're looking for?
Yeah, so great question. So we can work with an existing um, an existing contractor that's been doing commercial service and re-roof, even do construction for many years. A lot
Okay.
of times those folks will get stuck somewhere along the line. They get stuck in one truck, three truck, nine trucks, right? And
Right.
it's very hard for them to kind of see, through the forest of what they need to kind of break out of that. So that's where the program really helps them. Another situation is many of our clients, contractor clients, are coming from the residential space trying to get into the commercial space.
Okay.
And so we help them and provide all of those tools, from everything from sales and marketing to production, even to billing and collecting, every
Okay.
step of the way to complete various types of projects such as T&M and scope of work and restoration and re-roof.
Okay.
So as we work through the program, they learn those steps, and we help them as coaches build those tools out and the documents that we provide.
I see. All right. And are y'all, which area of the region do y'all really focus in on?
We nationwide. Um, our company is completely remote, right? I'm outside of Chicago. We
Okay.
have coaches in various states of the country. Brian is somewhere in Asheville, North Carolina,
Right.
and
Okay.
so we we're not really limited to that because everything is online.
I see. And when you talk to these companies and you go about uh, all these different tasks and things you do, how do you determine? I mean, I guess with the roofing industry, it's like it's almost like a 6% success rate, right? So you come in and you kind of help with that. When you're talking about roofers in the industry from, start to a couple of years out, a lot, over 90% of them don't make it. They kind of crash and burn. So you guys really come in and try to alleviate that situation altogether.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of put it simply, we have a successful model
Hmm.
that more and more people are becoming aware of, but there are still, like you said, that 6% success rate. There's a
Yeah.
lot that are still unaware.
Right.
And part of the problem in this industry is there's no true education and there's no true standardized model and way of doing things, right? If you think about even going down to um, the technicians doing repairs, we most of the time we learn from another technician or an uncle or a father, a grandfather, something like that. So there's no true trade education in this. Okay, so we're trying to bring in this model on more of the back end that gives them the foundation that's really going to help them succeed. And we're so excited to work with our clients. We're truly seeing so much success over and over again. These folks are getting their ROI,
Right.
very easily, and they're adding these SOPs in this structure and this model to to their service division, and that's helping them grow and scale.
Okay. So for instance, I was in the industry for 22 years. I started when I was 17 as a co-op out of high school working. And I built my way up to vice president of a big commercial company called Antex out of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And I did that for a long time. And we were originally doing asphalt roofing back, when it was mop on and, torched on asphalt roofing. And then, they graduated to EPDMs and TPO,
Sure.
the current systems in place now. So, what exactly are you guys seeing most of right now? Is everybody sticking with TPO, or are there any new materials out there that you're seeing, new systems being put in place as far as the actual roof themselves?
Nothing, nothing major, right? So
Right.
so the chemistry of all of these roof systems are always improving, right?
Yeah.
The way we're attaching and the compatibility of all these roof system types. There's coatings, right? The technology is always there. AI is helping advance all of these things down
Hmm.
to the chemistry. So for right now, I would say people are still sticking with the TPO and EPDM and such.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find it up north versus the south any difference in the material that they're using?
For sure. I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on many variables like what's underneath the roof, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be a factor. Also, wind is going to be a factor, right? If they how how interested are they in if you think about the building owner, how interested in are they in sort of more of a clean energy or a clean roof? So all those will come into play.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of different systems, and when you're on the East Coast, your fastening patterns and everything have got to be a lot stronger and a lot more significant. Uh, you know, with
And
the hurricanes.
this program really focuses on the service side, right?
Yeah.
So we what we're really trying to coach is to lead with service, build good relationships, lead with service.
Right.
If you do that correctly, in turn, over time, your book of business for re-roof is going to improve, right? Your sales cycle is going to be shorter, and your closing ratio is going to improve because you've been leading with service and taking care of your customers for so long through sort of emergency repairs, leak calls,
Right.
scopes of work, and you're extending the life of their roof, right? So
Right.
once you are able to keep $20,000, $200,000, $1 million in a business person's pocket for 5 more years, 8 more years, you become very valuable to them. So that's exactly
Yeah.
what we're trying to teach.
Absolutely. So you guys do a lot of not so much. Do you do new construction, or are you mostly focused on the repairs or re-roof side of it?
We really focus on the repair side of it, and again, in turn, the at the end of the day, we want our customers to get the re-roof. We have a little joke about new construction, and basically, it's we slightly encourage you to do a small new construction once a year to
Uh-huh.
remind you how horrible the process is and not to do it again.
I see, I see. And why do you say that the new construction is so much more difficult?
I mean, um, everything from the bidding process, right, to the estimating process. Sales process is very long. It's just a much more, and not only that, you have these long processes that I just mentioned, right? And at the end of
Right.
the day, you're fighting tooth and nail against all this other competition, and your margins are shrinking at the same time due to that competition. And
Yes.
so it's very, very different ball game from service.
I see, I see. Yeah, the margins are, new construction, the competition, especially when you have these new companies come in, they lowball everything, you're fighting against those bids. It doesn't make it easy, it makes it pretty tough. And then, whereas in the service industry and repair and re-roofs, you get paid a lot quicker, right? Than you do waiting on contractors to pay out all the retainers and everything else that is involved with that. So it's a very different process, which is probably why you only have the 6% success rate in place, because it is hard to do both and be successful at both. Um, so I have a question. You mentioned AI. So in the next, how much do you think it has influenced what you guys do over the last couple of years? And where do you think it's taking the industry over the next 3 to 5 years? Yeah,
Um,
a lot.
yeah, yeah, I say poof because I don't think anybody knows that, right? It's moving so quickly
Hmm.
that we just don't know what it's going to look like in a year from now, right? What we're seeing already is people utilizing things like chat for everyday administrative type
Right,
tasks, right? To build a job description, to create an SOP, whatever that looks like, to create a
right.
process that's just going to be able to be implemented, much faster within your organization. Even a
Hmm.
training program, an internal training program, you could do some great things with that. But we are really seeing it everywhere. We're seeing it with drones and infrared technology. There's now some tools that analyze drone images that can help you sort of detect deficiencies very quickly. We're seeing it in project management tools with roofing CRMs, helping people manage opportunities better. The salespeople out there managing opportunities better. Certainly with estimating, everyone's trying to create some type of AI generated estimating tool. That's always estimating is always a challenge, even in service, right? Which is much easier to estimate in service compared to re-roof. But still, having said that, when you think about Eagle View and Sky Measure, those folks are adding AI as well. On the safety side, we have wearable cameras now that's helping people with fall protection and just movement in general. Job site cameras. On the material side, there's always AI, like we mentioned before, that's helping the chemistry side of things. So it's pretty much everywhere.
Right. And where do y'all use AI in y'all's technology, and what y'all do?
Uh, so right now we are in the process of taking a stab at using AI to build a CRM that is dedicated around the program itself. So we want to basically take our program and put it into an AI type CRM. And we're actually working with one of our partners to a client that's now a partner to do that. So
I
that's
see.
been really
Yeah.
fantastic. Another way is really just the way I mentioned earlier. As I'm using it every day, I'm trying to teach our clients to use it because it is another area that the industry is a little bit behind other industries, which is technology in general and AI. So we're teaching them on a day-to-day basis. If they need a job description, let's show them how to do that, very quickly.
Right, right. Well, we have a company, and that's one of the reasons I do this podcast is for the awareness. Is My company is Centra AI Group, and what we do is we bridge the gap between people who are trying to implement things like your CRM that you're talking about, because we have several go high level CRMs and that we utilize, and we work with people in different ways that currently have AccuLinks and different things that are already set up with their systems, and we go in there and we tie in a bunch of new add-on tools or whatever they really need. So we dive ourselves, we dive into companies as well and figure out how they can use AI and how we can provide that bridge to allow them to do so. So that's one of the things we do because I mean, you got image, video enhancements, you got generative applications that are very creative. You've got decision support and recommendations that AI just is constantly shooting out, changing and updating. And that's what I do. And I do these podcasts to try and, bring awareness because I think the industry, so many people in the industry are either scared of, what's happening with AI, don't really, they're a little
Right.
hesitant about it, right? And then or they want to get involved with it, but they don't know the right people or they don't have the right connections to bridge that gap, right? To connect to
For
them,
sure.
right? So that's what we do. But yeah, I like to hear how everybody is implementing it because, you're right. In a year, there's no telling what it's going to look like. Like right now, was a couple months ago, I had 10,000 AI tools at my disposal with the company I work with, and now it's at 40,000.
Wow.
So it's insane. Like the amount that the pace it's moving at is kind of like information overload.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unreal. It's
Agreed.
really it's fascinating, and I find it amazing what it's doing with our daily lives, but in this industry in particular, because I think this industry is could be utilize it so much more than they're able, or they a lot of people are, and it would really
Right.
help them
Right.
automate so many systems within their normal operations.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are doing some of that. We're really trying to just coach and teach them a little bit on some of the basics, and we're just trying to bring awareness like you guys are because it's just extremely helpful, and they can't be left behind in this area.
No, they can't. And unfortunately, your blue collar guys, and women, they really they're the ones who are the most hesitant about it, and probably
Yeah.
the ones who need it the most. So it's something that needs to be talked about and addressed and implemented. And we try to help folks do that as well.
I
Whereas,
mean, I would say a big part of that is to coach and
mhm,
have that community, right?
right,
Because when people are involved in a community, their willingness over time to ask questions, right? To not feel silly or ashamed,
right,
and you have people who are just starting with this, talking to people who have been doing this for 2 years now, and they're connecting and they're bridging those gaps. So I think like so much for the blue collar who truly is not interested in being educated in a traditional way,
right.
being involved in these types of communities is in my opinion the best way by far to help.
Absolutely. I personally have a team of five, and I say it's where HI meets AI, and it's intelligence with artificial intelligence, and we do all the oversight and the implementation, and we coach and we partner, we walk through, similar to what you guys do. So, we're all trying to navigate this new world and see how we can all help each other and communicate, and I think that's really key. And it's really vitally important for this industry and the new world that we're fixing to be stepping into with AI, because it's only getting faster.
Yes, for sure.
So I always like to follow up with a couple of questions towards the end. If you had recommendation of telling somebody who wanted to come in and get involved in the industry, uh, how would you suggest they start?
Well,
Yeah.
I would say education, right?
Mhm.
And for our industry, I still feel like NRCA is sort of leading the way there. So I would definitely lead them to NRCA, the website, have them get a good understanding of safety requirements and just many other fantastic things that they have. Secondly, I would try to find a coach that's been doing this for a while that is a good fit for them
Hmm.
and that community, because that's when you're comfortable. At that point, you can learn, right? Again, when you're not comfortable and you're scared, or you may not feel as intelligent as you would like to, it's almost impossible to learn. So that getting involved in a community that is like-minded, and they are typically generous, and part of that community is to uplift everybody.
Right.
That to me is the best way to get involved.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, um, I I do appreciate you coming on the show. I have a few other questions. I mean, you guys, you said you're doing a CRM with somebody. Do y'all see other ways of helping? Are you just trying to create a CRM to implement into what you already have? Is that what you're trying to do?
So it was our client that came to us and basically said, we found this AI tool that can help build
Mhm.
CRMs, and we have done so well with your model and your program. We basically want to take that and install it into the CRM. And
Yeah.
so we're taking the 26 stages of the Service Edge program and having our team follow that. Everything from KPIs and metrics
Hmm.
to managing their opportunities to process driven, everything in the warehouse. If you think about transitioning from sales to production, it's all part of it, and certainly AI is going to help with all of that, make it seamless, and I
Right.
think that's the big part. So it wasn't even us trying to figure that out. That really this endeavor started by one of our clients, sort of coming to us. And then the second place, I think, is really finding those bottlenecks, specifically within commercial roofing, or even service within commercial roofing, like
Right.
estimating. So once we really figure out the estimating challenge and that backlog of estimating, I think that's going to be handled through AI as well.
And do you help them with like lead sources and marketing at all?
Yeah, everything from trying to generate a lead all the way to trying to get that final payment. And
What exactly, do you have anything as far as the listeners go that you want to, wrap up and close with?
yeah, I guess I was thinking earlier that closing was with the for people to get involved and join is through coaching and community.
Right.
I think that there is a lot to be said for the importance of relationships in this industry.
Yes.
I think that's such a key part of it that people don't recognize. And along with that is the idea of becoming a professional service organization
Hmm.
first that just happens to do roofing. And
That's a
and
good way to
that's
look
something
at it.
that's something we really try to focus on in all of our coaching. So as an example, um, you're going to have many relationships, right? You're going to have you're going to have reps at Carlisle, and you're going to have reps at
Hmm.
Manta for coatings, and you're going to
Right.
be speaking with people at the permitting office, and you're going to be working with local distributors, and you're going to have a rep at your CRM for go high level, right?
Right.
That you're going to need help with. And so these types of relationships are much broader than people are thinking about,
Hmm.
and every one of them counts, right? So
Right.
you really need to stay close with them, leverage them, right? Like I'll give you a quick example on the manufacturer side. Many people are not aware of this, but the manufacturers will help you do a lunch and learn. They may
Hmm.
provide a space for you. They may provide a nice lunch. They'll come there and back you up as as the expert for their roof systems that
Right.
you're utilizing. So and that extends to everything. That extends to the engineers and consultants that you have to deal with potentially as a third party, right? So um, the level of professionalism uh, has to improve in the industry, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of that comes from understanding the importance of having good relationships every day.
Absolutely. I think that's well said. I really do. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today, and we really appreciate it. It's been your take on that is significant, and I appreciate it.
Thanks
Um,
very much for
it
having me.
no problem at all.